Umbrella. Well, I was getting your stupid umbrella, but all right. Flesh. Penny, if you promise not to chew the flesh off our bones while we sleep, you can stay. Virtual. She's sending virtual livestock to random men on the internet. Fork. Thailand has had the fork since the latter half of the 19th century. Hippie. Perhaps that joke was a little too hippy-dippy for this crowd. Wheelchair. I mean, forget the wheelchair. He should be in a stroller. Reserve. But that has judgmental overtones, so I'll hold that in reserve. Meteor. The upcoming meteor shower and the best places to view it. Trunk. You're in a stolen cop car with a dead hooker in the trunk. Dimensional. It is only three-dimensional thinking that limits our imagination. Syrup. Who do you think made the French toast with butter and syrup? Kidding. Yeah, no kidding. Chili. It smells a little like chili, but all the pieces are there. Direct. But if it did, you could bury me at the funeral home you direct. Gorgeous. I've already got a gorgeous blonde back home that I can't score with. Demonstrate. He demonstrated scientific principles using everyday objects. Onion. Compromising the integrity of all the other onion rings. Pale. You know the pale blue of Luke Skywalker's lightsaber? Calorie. Yeah. Breastfeeding burns. Like 5,000 calories a day. Sample. Between a Hoberman sphere and a sample of quartz flecked with pyrite. Plastic. I'm just saying, you can take the damn plastic off the couch once in a while. Operate. And you don't want someone like that operating heavy machinery. Library. Fort Knox doesn't have a secret physics lending library. Pipe. Do we know what happened to the top hats and the corncob pipes? Thesis. I had to write a thesis, and I wasn't smart enough to do it. Fungus. You tell me about your foot fungus, but this is a secret? Encounter. It's like when I first encountered the Pythagorean theorem. Funding. That's impressive. And how much funding were you looking for? Bless. Thankfully, he blessed me with 2 other children who are dumb as soup. Rep. Is the number 3 sales rep at our pharmaceutical company? Counter. A loop counter and an escape to the least objectionable activity. Fluid. Sheldon. This beaker used to contain cerebral spinal fluid. Lap. Are you willing to sit on my lap and pretend to be a ventriloquist dummy? Rhetorical. You know, I don't want to criticize your rhetorical style. Religion. But any chance you could not mock my religion while she's here? Procedure. Like I was saying, right now it's just a dummy procedure. Probe. We're having a conversation about probing the henny of superheroes. Folk. Do you have any sense of what happened with your folks? Cure. All I'm saying is if they can cure yellow fever and malaria. Offensive. Okay, I'm afraid this is gonna get really offensive. River. Why don't you just take your clothes down to the river and beat them with a rock? Victory. About how you looked and acted so that your victory was mine. Sequence. Ah. Captain Kirk activated the self-destruct sequence. Indian. What is that? Like the Indian Sherlock Holmes. Mattress. Which featured a mattress suspended on interlocking ropes, which would occasionally. Thus eliminating the need for me to invent it in the first place. Merely. Engineering is merely the slow younger brother of physics. Fence. Personally, I can squeeze through a hole in a fence half my size. Equally. But I suppose stunned silence is equally appropriate. All right. Well, I'll talk to you later. But I am so happy for you, Leonard. Cooking. Because his friend agreed to take a cooking class with him. Hearing. Ever since she got the hearing aid, she thinks she's so great. Skinny. And some jerk said I looked so skinny I might disappear. Disturbing. Your responses to the questionnaire were truly disturbing. Pirate. Like the pirate who helps the other pirates connect to the internet? Repair. Well, you skip over any attempt to repair your emotional connection. Meaning, without my meaning becoming apparent to those around you. Cleaner. To a Kandorian dry cleaner before he left the bottle. Factor. I believe I'm hearing some negativity on the factor floor. Container. Our food always comes in Szechuan Palace containers. Devastate. Devastated. The Danes never invent their namesake pastry. Museum. I understand, but it was between you and the Museum of Natural History. Insensitive. I'd like to apologize for my insensitive comment earlier. Appearance. Or my Fantastic Four number 5. First appearance of Dr. Doom. Homemade. With little Frankfurter slices and these homemade croutons. Slam. Bernadette. I'll give you $5 to slam the door. Eliminate. Thus eliminating the need for me to invent it in the first place. Essentially. Given they work at Caltech. Essentially a technical school. Joy. And I'm tired of you sucking the joy out of them now. Sip. And it's been weeks since I took that accidental sip of Red Bull. Stroke. And no matter how much you stroke Amy's hair, she bites. Urinate. Professor Rothman urinated in the particle physics wub again. Insulting. Dr. Sheldon Cooper promises to abstain from all insulting or sniff. Okay, if you're gonna start sniffing people, I'm gonna go get a hot pretzel. Sleeve. Hey, you got to help me get my arm into the sleeve. Explore. The Enterprise was on a 5-year mission to explore new worlds. Discussion. We're all adults trying to have an intelligent discussion. Goose. It's pledge week and they're trying to goose the ratings. Homework. I promised to help the neighbor kid with his math homework. Grief. And my fiancé is grief-stricken over putting her there. Hooker. Unless something opens up in the hookers and whores division. Volunteer. But it still hurts that you would volunteer for something. Lantern. And refers to a traditional lantern hand-carved from a root vegetable. Sadly, Mrs. Giselle Wallowitz is sensitive to chlorine. Shove. To a gin-pickled tongue shoved down his adolescent throat. Slap. Pull off the skirt. Slap a lightning bolt on the front. Organ. Well, some people think the sexiest organ is the brain. Booty. Do you realize I may have to share a Nobel Prize with your booty call? Rose. And that roses were ashamed to bloom in the presence of her ruby lips. Network. She needs a point-to-point peer network with a range extender. Humanity. And the subsequent birth of a child who will destroy humanity. Ocean. I want to take a one-man sub to the lowest depths of the ocean. Uranium. And told him it's against the law to have yellow cake uranium in a shed. Backup. And there's even a backup battery when the power goes out. Crystal. It's a silicon dioxide crystal, otherwise known as quartz. Toward. Our responsibilities toward each other would only be rent. Utilities. Nuclear. It was already targeted to poke around a nuclear reactor in Siberia. Temple. And turning the toilet stall into a temple of the senses? Lobster. Beef with broccoli. Shrimp with lobster sauce and vegetable lo mein. Allowance. Because we just spent our allowance on comic books. Twist. And with the added twist of an M. Night Shyamalan movie. Chemical. We're going to combine these chemicals with ordinary dish soap. God. But all I feel is this gnawing, empty sensation in my gut. Silver. Penny. Dear. Why don't you shoot another silver bullet my way? Flatter. Well, I can see how he'd be flattered to be asked. Component. Of the least imaginative way to assemble these components. Reputation. Okay, the Nordic reputation for lack of humor is well founded. Radioactive. So, you know, I could separate radioactive isotopes. Lobby. Well, he was moping down in the lobby, so I invited him over. Psychiatrist. I'm not gonna make a fake appointment with a psychiatrist. Suspect. You're a suspect in the mysterious murder of Stuart Bloom. Cabin. At sleepaway camp my cabin was called Control Group. Beginning. It's always a little awkward in the beginning. Annual. I have an extra ticket to the annual Thanksgiving lunch buffet. Condom. If anyone gets lucky, I've got a dozen condoms in my quiver. Growth. Yes, but anyone who knows anything about the dynamics of bacterial growth. Geologist. We geologists always get a little sad when Rocktober's over. Impact. You know, growing up, the movies had such an impact on my life. Papa. See. Papa Doc's capital idea. That's Port au Prince. Steel. Sit back. Enjoy the clickety-clack of the steel wheels on the polished rails. Seduce. They had to hire a prostitute to seduce you? Precious. That your precious Garfield has no reason to hate Mondays. Spaghetti. She made me spaghetti with little hot dogs cut up in it. 8th. 3 times 10 to the 8th atoms of iridium in a lead jar. Harm. Have you ever harmed yourself or allowed yourself to be harmed except in cases? Imagination. It is only three-dimensional thinking that limits our imagination. Define. Relative to arbitrarily defined constellations at the time of your birth. Champion. I was the Temple Bethel Hebrew School Yahtzee champion. Blessing. Life has a way of amusing us, blessing and bruising us. Drink. Motor. What you need is cheat codes, motor skills and a magic genie. Don't hurt us, don't hurt us, don't hurt us. Upside. Oh, guys, hold me upside down. Bake. He was cremated, and his remains were put in a baking soda volcano. Freedom. Maybe I just miss the freedom I had as a younger man. Saturday. Every Saturday since we've lived in this apartment I have awakened at 6:15. Virgin. Maybe a couple virgin Cuba Libras that turned out to be kind of slutty. Homeless. I paid a homeless guy $10 to help me get it up here. Betrayal. Which makes your betrayal all the more devastating. Limit. It is only three-dimensional thinking that limits our imagination. Observation. That could reconcile the lack of observation of supersymmetry. Angle. That could be the angle of perturbation of a distant galaxy. Abuse. Given how much time you spend engaging in pointless self-abuse. Rob. You just robbed me of the opportunity to stumble upon the figurine. Shy. The magic elixir that can turn this poor, shy Indian boy. Lower. Heroes gradually lowered the quality season by season. Pregnancy. You know, we could have gone somewhere more pregnancy-friendly. Insect. Young man. I've been studying insects since I was 8 years old. Ideal. So the ideal interstellar lingua franca would be haptic. Whereas, this is a single-decker hamburger. Whereas the big boy is a double-decker. Hog. You are deliberately hogging all the attention from my mom. Wreck. My mom's been kind of an emotional wreck. Tiger. With the smoldering sexuality of a crouched Bengal tiger. Packet. You'll also find a laminated copy in your welcome packet. Dermatologist. My uncle is his dermatologist and stands doing him a favor. Lime. A Cuba Libre traditionally comes in a tall glass with a lime wedge. Bedtime. Look, can't you just let him play with you until bedtime? Financial. And you win back her affection with an empty financial gesture. Channel. You seem to be implying an informational back channel. Send. And for every dollar I make, I'm going to give you 20 cents. Tube. This nano vacuum tube idea of yours is really interesting. Colon. You didn't say they couldn't pass through my colon first. Dancer. Because a gorilla go-go dancer of any sexual preference. Dolphin. Reverse SeaWorld where dolphins are allowed to pet people. Dozen. If anyone gets lucky, I've got a dozen condoms in my quiver. Evolutionary. But some of us have climbed a little higher on the evolutionary tree. Condescend. A friend you haven't berated, lectured or condescended to yet. Gentle. A man from the government came by and sat him down real gentle. Cowboy. A helmet of confusion spell on Billy the Kid's cowboy hat? Hypothetical. Infer and describe the hypothetical relationship that exists between us. Qualified. Well, there are others who might be more qualified. Lane. It's customary for the player on the right-hand lane to bowl first. Plasma. We're about to spend an evening watching a plasma screen. Passionate. It's just, he's so passionate about so many different things. Sinus. Leonard. My comforter fell down, and my sinuses hurt when I bend over. Harmless. That's kind of an overreaction to a little harmless necrophilia. Reveal. Will be revealed in this brief PowerPoint presentation. Superman. Superman swoops down to save her by reaching out two arms of steel. East. If we pick a place east of here, we might find the balloon. Pitcher. Hey, even professional pitchers need a rub-down after the game. Presentation. You and Sheldon could compromise on this whole presentation thing? Preschool. Although it's a question I've been pondering since preschool. Proper. We need to give you a proper send-off so we'll have closure. Render. His wife set their dogs on me and rendered the question mood. Scavenger. I had a bit of a scavenger hunt myself last night. Facility. When I try to deceive, I myself have more nervous tics than a Lyme disease research facility. Landing. Bring it in. Spaceman. You've been cleared for landing. Underneath. Who wants to know what's underneath my cardigan? Cheek. Doesn't matter. A good Christian would have turned the other cheek. Tiara. Of course I do. I'm a princess. And this is my tiara. Gauge. When I was 5, I ingested a Z-gauge locomotive. Unique. Until one lone dreamer with a unique vision made it happen. Cage. Maybe I'll fling some feces around my cage to celebrate. Seal. Where a cat is placed in a box with a sealed vial of poison. Bland. Actually, I think it's more of wool. Fire ant bland. Adjust. Apparently, the one fella tried to adjust the thermostat. Flop. Is it supposed to come with a rat flopping around in it? Turtle. After much deliberation, we've determined that a turtle. Advancement. There's nothing more important than the advancement of science? Parrot. No. If I can walk past that pet shop with the parrot in the window. Reflect. As such, your behavior must reflect the highest standards. Flow. How does the flow rate in a pipe depend on its diameter? Vest. By the power vested in us, by the state of California. Educate. I'd be in charge of people that are far more educated with more experience. Possession. Well, rest assured, I am in full possession of my faculties. Caller. No wonder gentlemen callers are pounding down your door. Pencil. It's because you keep trying to stick pencils in it. Miss. Yeah. Please reserve chit-chat for your breaks. Miss Jensen. Doom. The premise is their love seems unlikely and doomed to failure. Merit. Sheldon. It's foolish to be angry that Bert's work has merit. Baffle. What's baffling me is what you could have possibly put on the list. Delight. Delighted that you showed any interest in my family at all? Neuroscientist. If I called you the name of a neuroscientist you didn't like? Expense. Who'll forbid you from spending your money on foolish expenses? Induce. Loud music and most other forms of alcohol-induced frivolity? Cave. To pick up a club and drag that truck back to my cave. Thick. Apart from radiant skin and luxuriously thick hair? Wire. If I want a new pen, I have to go to the bank with wire cutters. Goat. If being bitten by a goat would give you the powers of a goat. Drown. For all you know, I could have slipped in the tub and drowned. Digital. They're showing a new digital print of Time Bandits. Exam. Why do I feel like I'm the one that just got the prostate exam? Gender. Is for papers to be submitted under gender-neutral names. Purple. And he tried to deny it, but his teeth were all purple. Overlook. You are overlooking the fact that we now know what we're up against. Collaborate. Or give up collaborating for the sake of our relationship. Desire. I have no desire to get in the water till I absolutely have to. Region. Penny could have been inspecting Raj's anal region for parasites. Aquarium. Well, it is Thanksgiving in an aquarium cafeteria. Resource. Who do you think told Kuthrapali to go to human resources? Goal. Let one of their cheerleaders try to kick a field goal. Brunch. You and I had talked about going to brunch on Sunday. Squirrel. But can you tell the difference between rabbit and squirrel? Badger. Uncle Carl said, I think there's a badger living in our chimney. Privilege. You just lost bathroom privileges at the comic book store. Rescue. I think what really needs to be rescued is your sense of whimsy. Carefully. But tread carefully because it may be the last conversation we ever have. Smash. Spock smashes scissors. Scissors decapitates lizard. Command. And the inability of some people to follow the chain of command. Gang. She was afraid it might encourage me to join a gang. Grill. Thank you for carving a smiley face in my grilled cheese sandwich. Funky. And it's not because the crab cakes are funky. Ketchup. And if I can forgive her for putting ketchup on her eggs. Curtain. Don't peek behind that curtain of fame and celebrity. Clarify. Just to clarify, which one of you is wearing the bikini? Nickel. If I had a nickel for every time a charity sent me a nickel. Pity. Are you asking because you want me there or out of pity? Poke. It was already targeted to poke around a nuclear reactor in Siberia. Reward. I'm hoping once you reap the endorphic rewards of the study. Backyard. Our neighbor found them naked in the backyard eating crickets. Capture. It truly does capture the beauty of your friendship with Penny. Shine. You might not want to shine that around the rest of the room. Liquor. It would seem Amy is drunk in a liquor store parking lot. Barrel. Well, we scrubbed out some barrels of irradiated grease. Unusual. Because every time we've talked about unusual animal genitals. Gesture. And you win back her affection with an empty financial gesture. Neuroscience. I read a paper about it in Journal of American Neuroscience. Jealousy. May I suggest that your criticism is based on jealousy? Frustrated. You don't know what it's like to feel completely frustrated. Powder. He's already hairless and smells like talcum powder. Preserve. I preserved in a 1% solution of polyvinyl acetyl resin. Hygiene. I also have an idea for a bulk mail-order feminine hygiene company. Hack. By the way, a 6-year-old could hack your computer system. April. It's not an April Fool's joke. Sheldon. Hysterical. I also have a hysterical bit planned for later. Software. Are you familiar with the typical development for computer software? Intense. Are you guys ready for the most intense experience of your life? Depressed. He's depressed because he's pathetic and creepy and can't get girls. Sperm. I don't know. I've never reneged on a proffer of sperm before. Authority. As I call the authorities so they may remove the chair of death. Vow. It was at that moment I vowed eternal hatred for Will Wheaton. Timing. You know the timing of a fellow's bowel movements. Affair. But I think that love affair is still pretty hot today. Grandfather. It's bigger than the house my grandfather grew up in. Buffet. I have an extra ticket to the annual Thanksgiving lunch buffet. Scalp. Sheldon. I don't care if you get scalp tickets with us or not. Fortune. Isn't it nice when your good fortune makes others miserable? Skull. Didn't it look like that spear was going to go right through your skull? Prescription. I mean, I have to stop at the drugstore to refill a prescription. Wander. But ever since he wandered off at the swap meet chasing a balloon. Install. Install a bladder and a pair of shorts so he can wet himself. Expansion. Then nearly 14 billion years ago expansion started. Wait. Buzz. That would really piss me off if I didn't have a buzz going on. Nevertheless, we're going to throw Leonard a birthday party. Mexico. You don't need a yellow fever shot to go to Mexico. Script. You know, when I first read the script for Empire Strikes Back. Junior. When I was starting to do magic in junior high. Gain. Reported a 50% gain in reasoning skills upon their return. Bald. Whereas a ridiculous bald-faced lie makes me look good. Heaven. There are more things in heaven and earth. Horatio. Scenario. I've just spent the last 2 hours imagining various scenarios in my head. Decorate. We could decorate the roof and make the guys wear tuxedos. Saw. How about we get an electric saw and cut it off? Association. Did you complain to the tenants association about the food truck? Threat. When there are much more serious security threats to pursue. Symmetry. Is it about the rotational symmetries you should be figuring out? Suspicious. You measured the diameter of his suspicious mole yesterday. Potion. Penny can only be holding necromancer potions. Downtown. Oh, the Philharmonic is playing Beethoven downtown. Golden. We happen to live in a golden age of television. Fully. So that I'm fully indemnified and no longer liable. Hemorrhoid. It's usually indicated for acutely inflamed hemorrhoids. Sweetheart. With a sweetheart neckline and stand near you. Exit. What happened to all your glow-in-the-dark emergency exit stuff? Concept. That reduce the great concepts of science to a series of anecdotes. Rely. It relies on the homonymic relationship between tick. Passive. Let's put a pin in that and just focus on the passive thing. Necessarily. Trust me, breasts doesn't necessarily mean woman. Surprisingly. Which, other than its surprisingly fun puzzle page. Comforting. That good food and company can have a comforting effect. Olive. Which is an inward force generated by the glass acting on the olive. Pork. 'Cause I'd kill my rabbi with a pork chop to be with your sister. Whisper. Where the name Willowizard is whispered in hushed tones. Mummy. All you turn into is some schmo with a mummy bite. Implication. It's a scientific discovery that has staggering implications for all mankind. Formula. By changing the formula to use the number of single women in LA. Invest. The wise thing to do is invest it in something practical. Brief. Well, if I get lucky. I don't want to be caught in my Aquaman briefs. Resident. Distinguished surgical resident at Fremont Memorial. Discount. Besides, he gives us a 20% discount at his comic book store. Aluminum. Panels A, B and F and crossbar H with aircraft grade aluminum? Additional. There's absolutely no money in my budget for additional office furniture. Boulder. And some of those obstacles are gonna feel like boulders. Length. Given the size of the theater and the length of this line. Catholic. But I don't think dressing up like a Catholic schoolgirl. Reminder. Is to get rid of all reminders of the relationship. Cape. Do you have something I could use as a cape? Dinosaur. But it's not a dinosaur fossil or matching pocket watches. Well. You really want to dot the I's and cross the T's, don't you? Compete. And interpret the results through the competing academic prisms. Kit. Did Bernadette even try to send us a sewing kit? Chin. I expect you to wipe the pudding off your chin. Kidney. Well, I never told you about my brother's kidney stone. Fond. Anne. Honestly, those are some of my fondest memories. Cigarette. I recently trained a capuchin monkey to smoke cigarettes. Massive. Overconfidence from his robot's massive size and its overwhelming power. Nearby. A nearby Chinese restaurant that Einstein used to frequent. Session. This frustrating, bogus teenage makeout session is not over. Village. I noticed the village couldn't find time to put the crib together. Sincere. I sense that's not sincere. Although I have no idea why. Hydrogen. Instead, it will run out of hydrogen to use for nuclear fuel. Strawberry. Well, My favorite is chocolate with strawberry frosting. Independent. It would be nice to raise Haley to be a little more independent. Aboard. Maybe John Connor's aboard and she's protecting him from an evil Terminator. Pumpkin. Whether or not they may be having more pumpkin lattes. Ladder. Tonight he wants to look at ladders at Home Depot. Handwriting. Handwriting recognition differential equation solving. Medal. When I won the Earth Science Medal in 3rd grade. Psychological. Trust me, Kripke will fall easy prey to my psychological warfare. Signature. Gravitational wave signatures of influence in the early universe. Jazz. You know, it's where you find rice pudding and jazz. Debate. The Pasadena City Council is debating longer crosswalk times. Badly. And not tell Bernadette how badly I blew this interview? Obnoxious. Do you have a drink that will make him less obnoxious? Afterwards. Maybe take a walk afterwards. Talk about things we have in common. Vehicle. There are myriad weapons, vehicles and strategies to master. Booth. Hey, I thought we weren't supposed to have our phones in the booth. Cozy. Maybe you should cozy up to the people making the decision. Shred. For the chicken with broccoli to be diced, not shredded? Tension. Priya. If you're experiencing any tension or awkwardness. Mole. You measured the diameter of his suspicious mole yesterday. Irrelevant. Well, whether you see it or not is irrelevant. Religious. One of the 5 central religious duties or sacrifices of the Hindu householder? Purchase. For example, I noticed that you purchase your tampons 1 month supply at a time. Pageant. And tearing down other women is part of my pageant training. Cab. We take a cab back to the apartment. Get my flash drive. Absolute. Of these episodes, these 12 years an absolute dream come true. Entertainment. Allowing me to immerse myself in entertainment or gameplay. Telephone. How the hell did you get them up on that telephone wire? Picnic. At the company picnic she yelled at me and my grandson. Oddly. Which the mother of my children finds oddly appealing. Biologist. Evolutionary biologist Robin Dunbar has identified gossip. Somewhat. Because, let's face it, you're somewhat of a loose cannon. Arrow. The god Kamadeva has shot us with his flowery arrows of love. Resolve. An impossibility that nature will quickly resolve into death. Mutilation. Stomp. That I offered her my heart and she kind of stomped on it? Pepper. And my cousin William was ground to death in a pepper factory accident. Moral. Did he give any reason as to why he came to this moral epiphany? Anticipate. Well, then I anticipate an awkward situation when you get home. National. And all I've gotten is a couple of national commercials. Primate. I don't know how much you know about primate behavior. Importantly. Most importantly. You don't have access to my haircut records. Bunny. That's why we test out drugs and cosmetics on bunny rabbits. Vortex. The quantum vortex apparatus is now controlling the orientation, cognitive, and build his cognitive life back up on firm principles. So, because the story of me sewing the first American flag. Tolerate. Without having to tolerate your germy breath on my skin. Driving. Sheldon, do you realize that driving is riskier than surgery? Maine. I'm gonna guess that your main concern is the time commitment. Yummy. Even if you had yummy candy, I would not get in your van. Irritate. Have you ever dealt with something so relentlessly irritating? Wherever. Order suppositories and shove them wherever you want. Lake. In the lake of the palace of the celestial maidens. Saving. And we're talking about statistically significant savings. Collector. Expansion pack in the signed and numbered collector's tin. Sparkle. And her eyes sparkle when she watches old French movies. Occupy. We'll be occupying the same space as that Buick in front of us. Rail. Sit back. Enjoy the clickety-clack of the steel wheels on the polished rails. horror, are just a few of the 1,000+ horrors that await. Resume. You were dead set against Penny resuming her acting career. Stool. For the matter above this stool to spontaneously turn into a beautiful woman. Sexuality. And I think you don't like people expressing their sexuality. Distracted. Is a distracted makeout session on a couch? Obligate. I didn't realize I was obligated to share my connection. Bomb. And you're literally ticking like a bomb about to go off. Entry. She thought it would be a good entry point for me. Franchise. And in your case, the elevator, parks and fast food franchise. Sadness. And with a tinge of sadness that I'm no longer in your life. Sarcastic. And you're not allowed to be sarcastic or snide to me while I'm doing so. Basement. My mother used to run an illegal daycare center in our basement. America. The Honorary Justice League of America membership card? Breaker. Is a little man with a flashlight searching for a circuit breaker. Madness. There's a rich history of brilliant minds descending into madness. Alike. It's one of those look-alikes that you hire for a party. Instrument. The blunt instrument that will be the focus of my murder trial? Strategy. This is a setback and we should adopt a different strategy. Meteorite. They cut that meteorite open and unleashed a space plague? Overnight. I can't believe you pulled this all together overnight. Pickle. To a gin pickled tongue shoved down his adolescent throat. Skating. So anyway, in the dream, you and I were ice skating. Just the two of us. Quietly. Would it be possible for you to do this a little more quietly? Shave. I have noticed that Leslie Winkle recently started shaving her legs. Ski. But your ideas are stupid. And I want a jet ski. Blueberry. Some popular early main ingredients included blueberry. Pride. I guess you're just gonna have to swallow your pride. Deaf. Just. It's kind of impossible not to sneak up on deaf people. Outfit. And thought maybe you could help me pick out an outfit? Explode. We're plummeting toward Earth and he exploded it with his mind. Mute. You failed to take into account that even mute. I am foreign and exotic. Lemonade. I guess I just have to make lemonade out of the two of you. Clip. If I can also get my hair shampooed and my nails clipped. Carrot. Maybe a Tupperware bowl of roasted potatoes and carrots? Unconscious. Of some sort of unconscious emotional turmoil. Rum. Then spray them with a mixture of rum and bitters. Punish. I got a girl who punishes her father by sleeping around Anne. Therapist. My parents. My therapist and the insurance company. Possum. Or is it like a possum in the walls kind of thing? Homosexual. To express your latent homosexual feelings toward one another? Contraction. The blood-sucking arachnid. And tick. The involuntary muscular contraction. Dummy. Are you willing to sit on my lap and pretend to be a ventriloquist dummy? Dilemma. I don't feel like you're taking this dilemma seriously. Method. Well, if you are so protective of the scientific method, upgrade. Penny has upgraded as designated term of endearment. Magnet. Why falling down the rabbit hole and into a land of magnet? 9th. But I dedicated a song to her at the 9th grade talent show. Shuttle. I'm working on a project that may take me up on the next space shuttle. Associate. Who is currently enjoying the hot flashes associated with menopause? Q. Yeah. I wish the bride and groom would take a cue from Bilbo Baggins. Judgment. Oh, no. Well, now there's always the possibility that alcohol and poor judgment. Disappointment. Something large enough to contain my disappointment. Bartender. Oh, yeah. You know, every bartender makes it differently. Calculation. For this university's 6-loop quantum gravity calculations. Study. I'm hoping once you reap the endorphic rewards of the study. Federal. The inside of our mailbox is under federal jurisdiction. Erase. Erase all the hard drives. Scrap the surveillance tapes. Invisible. I think the word you're looking for is invisible. Creep. But sometimes it's fun to creep yourself out thinking about it. Meditation. Now, after a moment of silent meditation, I'm gonna end with in Jesus' name. Pardon. In a women's prison with a handful of pardons. Mysterious. You're a suspect in the mysterious murder of Stuart Bloom. Faith. That'll let her know the studio has faith in it. Grid. But he also controls the new open science grid computer. Booze. You'd think a guy like that would have some kind of booze lackey. Sore. Well, then my apologies for bringing up this sore spot. Talent. They say it's the perfect metaphor for my incandescent talent. Tackle. Hey, next. Why don't we tackle your penchant for whining? Vulnerable. I know I sound paranoid, but I'm feeling really vulnerable. Card. I smelled kettle corn and couldn't find the card. Friday. It's Friday night, that means Chinese food and vintage video games. Parade. Well, I want to make sure we get invited to all the parades. Stack. I could stack the logs conically to facilitate airflow. Riddle. The ara in the riddle meant Jan Ara. Employee. It certainly buoyed up this employee's esprit de corps. Efficient. Oh, he's just helping us develop a better, more efficient Thai. We even ordered from the Thai place he doesn't like. Net. In showing how neutrinos emerge from a string net condensate. Ought. That ought to let the air out of your tires. Hawking. Hurtful. I'm being unnecessarily hurtful but with a sweet voice. Humorous. The humorous implication being that I am Wile E. Coyote? Directly. Now, I could simplify things, just give you the $50 directly. Weakness. I was hoping by admitting my weakness to you. Feminine. I also have an idea for a bulk mail order feminine hygiene company. Turtleneck. Yeah, let me just grab a couple of fresh turtlenecks. Addition. I think we're going to need some ground rules. In addition, evolution. Our child could be the next step in the evolution of mankind. Grand. My new book The Hidden Reality takes on a grand question. Salon. Feels like we could be an 18th century French salon. Garbage. Ladies do love a man dressed like a kitchen garbage bag. Galaxy. That could be the angle of perturbation of a distant galaxy. Strongly. I believe the Internal Revenue Service would strongly disagree. Solder. How can you call yourself a scientist and run out of solder? 10th. So it's already better than my 10th birthday party. Obsess. It amazes me how you constantly obsess over fictional details. Dressed. Stuart's dressed like a brother of the Night's Watch. Horn. Please, Leonard, stop trying to horn in on my new friends. Grandchild. Is this little hotsy-totsy who you want as the mother of your grandchildren? Florida. My family took a trip to Florida when I was a child. Below. Who hasn't seen this differential below? Here I sit, broken-hearted. Wrist. Maybe, but do not ask for that. On the wrist or anywhere else. Torment. Has lung cancer and is tormented by the spirits of the undead. Boil. Normally around women, he has the personality of a boiled potato.